Hello, hello, hello. I am here. So we will see how this unfolds. I had a moment of technical difficulties. Can you all see me? Can you all hear me? Wendy, Britt, Wendy Lotus, Mark, great. Hi, Gary. Hello, Teresa, Liz, Jeff, Kay. Hi, Mia, welcome. Anupriya, welcome. Yes. So we'll see how it looks in YouTube because I'm dual streaming. And I'll just trust the process. Perfect for our topic of surrender today. Hello, Anne, welcome. If you are new to my profile, my channel, me here on Insight Timer, glad to have you. Glad to have all of our returning guests in the community here. Happy to be here with you today. If you are new, don't forget to follow me here on Insight Timer. Join my group, Natalie's Healing Circle, so we can stay in touch in the app outside of the live streams. Give my meditations a listen. And don't forget to donate if you would like to as well. You can do that here through the app. And you can also see replays in YouTube, subscribe there, Facebook, Instagram, all that yummy stuff. So I was just listening to Michael Singer's newest podcast episode that just dropped a few days ago. Let's see, when did it drop? That language annoys me, so I get to use it so I can get over it. 2 days ago, the season 3, episode 1 of Michael Singer's podcast this one's called Your Highest Technique, Relaxing Behind Your Inner Disturbance. So I listened to it yesterday, I think, or the day before, and was giving it a listen to re-ground myself in the teachings before coming on here to the Surrender Circle live event today. And I forgot to introduce myself too. If you are new, I'm a spiritual life coach, Reiki master teacher, and writer, tarot reader. Yes, and listen to it. Would love to hear, how has Michael Singer helped you? What's been the biggest thing that he's helped you with? And please, everybody, share that. I know many of you are familiar with him and are fans like me. Jeff, did Michael Singer drop it like it's hot? Maybe. Maybe. Does anybody here not know who Michael Singer is? That's a place to start. If you don't know who he is, wonderful. If you do, share how he's impacted your life. So Anne says the witness consciousness. Wonderful. And he does talk about that in this latest episode. What does witness consciousness mean? Witness consciousness means that we are not 100% fully identified with the thought stream in our mind or our ego. And that's sort of, to me, that's the foundational place to begin on any spiritual path. Because we're born, we grow up, we have a mind, we have an ego, we have a thought stream, and we just, as a natural experience, identify as that until we don't. So what's the value in not identifying with your stream of consciousness 24/7? Because, as Michael Singer says, it's a shit show in there. He doesn't say shit show. That's my words, but that's basically what he's saying in there. It's a mess inside. There's this voice in the head that just has a constant opinion about every single thing, every single moment. And usually it's not the most uplifting and positive stuff. And it's not the truth. That thought stream inside is just, it's really, Singer says, it's neuroses, it's neurotic, it's afraid. So does anybody here, like, this is a great question. Does anybody not know what I'm talking about? Is everybody here at least have some sense that there's a stream of constant thought that is not you? That's the simplest place to begin. Hi, June. You don't know Michael Singer. Yay, love it. Yeah, Wendy, I would invite you. If this topic is compelling, if the teachings are compelling, dive in. And I've also done a surrender circle before, a live event that was fun and amazing, and that will happen again at some point. So if you go to my website, you can sign up to be notified of when that will happen again. Ooh, Britt, lovely quote. Is that a Singer quote? Are both of the first one and this one? Great. Thank you. Because of course, his books are going to be more succinct than me speaking, and also there's value in this as well. Surrender Circle is an event hosted outside of, it's a live event where we meet live about these teachings and we dive deeper into them. And I do Reiki Ancestral Clearing. We have a Q&A. We have a back and forth where we're meeting in Zoom, so it's 3-dimensional. So it was super fun and powerful. So you can read more about that on my website if you'd like, and sign up to be notified of when it will happen again. So there is nothing more important to true growth than realizing that you are not the voice of the mind. You are the one who hears it. Ooh, and then the other bomb drop from Untethered Soul, Britt, thank you. Your inner growth is completely dependent upon the realization that the only way to find peace and contentment is to stop thinking about yourself. Ooh. Drop it like it's hot. So thanks, Anne, for bringing that point in. Yes, you'll never be free of problems until you're free from the part within that has so many problems, which is that mind that constantly, is thinking of a problem to solve. I was listening to Tony Robbins this morning, and he was talking about money. And he was saying, and I've heard this before, money isn't a multiplier, money is an amplifier. he said, if you were mean before and you get money, you'll just be mean with money. If you were a kind person already and then you get money, then you'll be a kind person with money. So there's this idea that, you know, when we get something, when something changes, something happens outside of ourselves, it's going to like make our problems go away. And you can substitute money, love, health, job, relationships, a new place to live, a new country to live. You can replace any of that there with that. You know, I've been thinking about my own journey recently as I start creating content on my YouTube channel. And, you know, today I was thinking, you know, Natalie, like, you were a drug addict. Like, well, the voice was talking and I was listening. I was an alcoholic and a drug addict, a really bad one. And I got clean and sober, and I've been clean and sober almost 25 years. And now I am, you know, a spiritual life coach, living the dream in Bali. Like, wow, what an amazing transformation that's occurred. That might be valuable and helpful to people and inspire them. And also thinking too, you know, I've still brought myself with me. And yet, you know, before I became a life coach full time, I was in a dead-end job for 12 and a half years. Yes, the job was great in many ways because I was remote and lived around the world wherever I wanted. I made my own hours. I was an employee, you know, making American dollars. And also, you know, it was dysfunctional. And my mind always complained about my job. Well, now I'm a life coach and I make my own hours and I have total freedom. But yet that baseline of happiness, it's risen, yes, but it's the pattern of habit in there. So I want to kind of ground back into Michael Singer's teachings about this. And also, too, for those who don't know who this person is, he's a New York Times bestselling author of The Untethered Soul, if anybody's heard of that, Surrender Experiment and Living Untethered. He also was CEO of like $1 billion, or CEO, or on the board of like $1 billion company. So he very much was in the world and not of the world. So if anybody here is thinking like, oh, this Michael Singer dude, he's super spiritual, you know, he must have, you know, lived in India for 20 years. No, he was in the corporate world living these principles. And because of his spiritual teaching, or because of his spiritual practices, is how he created this crazy, amazing life. So first we want to know that, you know, wake up to the fact we are not our thoughts and we are not our stories. And that can be the biggest journey to realize that what happens is we become identified with our mind, we become identified with stories and thoughts and judgments, we believe them, and then because we've identified with those stories, it creates suffering. So in this recent podcast that he just put out, Your Highest Technique, Relaxing Behind Your Inner Disturbance, is he basically says, you know, the world is happening. Things are happening. There's always happenings. If I, you know, time travel or whatever, distance travel, and I appear wherever you are right now, there's something happening in your world. I look out the window wherever you are, there's something happening. You come over here in Bali where I am and you look out the window and there's things happening. Singer says if you go to Mars, if you go to Saturn, plop yourself down, there's things happening there. All of these things took the mystery of the universe, 13.8 billion years, to unfold to bring this present moment to our experience, and we witness that, which is part of the witness consciousness. The problem lies in then our mind has an opinion about that and wants it to be different. It has a judgment. This is why people love traveling. Think about going on vacation to somewhere new. If you're going on vacation to somewhere new, you're more in an observer, witness, consciousness state, because you're immersing yourself in this foreign land or this different place, and you're just looking around and you're taking it in, and you're being more open and you're being more present. And there may be less judgments. And so how can we bring that energy into the moment, when we're not traveling, when it's the same old place and the same old job and the same old house and the same old relationship? How can you be the witness and the observer of the things outside of you? Because Singer says basically the whole system is flawed, because we have this system set up that we need things outside of ourselves to be a certain way so that we feel okay inside. Does everybody see that? Does that make sense? Do you believe that? Or are you like, nah, that's bullshit? Do you see how your life up until now, or whenever you stop doing it, that you have wanted circumstances outside to be a certain way so that you could feel a certain way inside, and that you have manipulated the outside world so that you can feel okay? This is the root of the problem. So he says, you drop yourself in a moment on Saturn, you drop yourself in a moment on time in Paris or South America, whatever. There's things that are just unfolding. We don't let that happen. We have an opinion about it. The minute we go into the moment, then we think it needs to be a certain way. Right now, I don't care what's going on outside in the road out there. I don't care about the traffic out there. I could care less what's happening. If I go out there and I'm trying to turn right, which we're driving on the other side of the road over here, so that's against the traffic. If I go out there and then I want to turn right, well, then I care about what's happening out there. We insert our ego into every moment. When we come upon it, we make it personal. Thank you, Britt, for this wonderful quote about the surrender experiment. So please read that. I want to read it. Yes. Beautiful. So that very succinctly captures an essence of what, a summary of what I'm talking about here. So he also says, like, how many years have you been in this system? How many years have you tried to gain happiness from trying to manage and manipulate the outside world so that you can feel better inside? How many years have you tried that? How successful have you been? Thank you, Andrew, for the donation, by the way. And our greatest gifts come from our deepest wounds. Yes. And even what that makes me think of is the shadow that we all have in doing the shadow work. The shadow holds the gold, holds the light, holds the potential for healing. Thank you, Andrew. Michael Singer is he's very like basic in how he shares about this stuff. And you know, there's different pieces and parts to it. And he also uses these examples that I'm using, you know, to, like in this recent podcast, he talks about the grocery store Publix, which is an American grocery store. And he's like, put yourself down in Publix. Like imagine you're dropping down into Publix. So he gives a little challenge for listeners about this technique. So this technique, the deepest technique, the highest technique, I keep pulling up the title of the podcast. Your highest technique, relaxing behind your inner disturbance. So he's like, drop yourself into Publix. He's like, there's no life-threatening things happening in Publix 99.9% of the time. So there's no threat to your life. And for most of our lives, 99% of the time, there's not an actual threat to life. Like if there's that, okay, great. That's a different story. So we're going to assume there's not something, you know, like that happening. So put yourself in Publix. And he says, you just be the observer of Publix, of what's happening. People with their carts, how close are they going to you? Are they looking at you? Do they acknowledge you? Do they not acknowledge you? What about all the foods in there? Are you going to have judgments and stories about that? Or the workers? Are they smiling? You know, are you going to be thinking about how are people perceiving me? Or maybe they're looking into my cart and wondering what I have. All of that. Do you see the neuroses of it? Is what he calls it, which is what it is. You're just in a grocery store. There's nothing happening except you're there to purchase food. And yet, this inner disturbance, this part, it's afraid. So Singer says there's fear behind it. But there's nothing to be afraid of in the present moment, in reality, without the mind, the layer of mind. There's nothing to be afraid of. So what he says is, okay, you're in Publix, you're in the grocery store things are happening. You notice the fear, you notice the stories, the judgments. And so the highest technique is relaxing behind the disturbance. So you notice there's a disturbance in your heart area, in your chest, maybe in your belly, your throat, your face. It could be anywhere in the body. You notice that and you relax your body around that energy. So let's do it right now. I know every single one of you can think of something that can like disturb you a bit right now. It could be the simplest thing. Like what my mind is thinking of is earlier I was at this cafe and I don't like the way they park the motorbikes, which I'm in Bali, that's my form of transport. they park it and they move it, and it's hard to get out, and they're squished together. And my mind makes up a story. It doesn't like that. And so I look out the window when I'm about to leave, and I see, oh yeah, they've done that again with the bikes. I knew that they were going to do it anyway, so I was prepared. So then I thought, I'll ask for help. So I asked, and of course they graciously were like, yeah, we'll come pull, help you with your bike. And then when we get out there, I see I was mistaken about it. My bike was actually easy to take out. But because I was so biased against seeing a problem, and this is so important, because of the conditioning and the stories and the energy I just shared with you, then when I actually look outside, I can't even see reality. I did not see what was in front of me because of the conditioning and of the mind of looking for a problem. So there was 2 gray motorbikes, and my motorbike's silver. So there was mine and then another and a red one. And I just thought mine was the one in the middle that is hard to get out. We get out there and I see, oh no, mine was on the outside. I could have gotten it out myself. And then I felt bad and I judged myself. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I thought my bike was this one. And he's like, oh, it's fine. And then there's that. Then there's the next layer of neuroses and judgment and shaming and making myself wrong. It's exhausting. All that was happening was I was going outside to get on my bike. And yet, how many of you can relate to this constellation of shit? And we can't, and Singer also talks about, we can't blame the mind. It's just trying to help us. So we don't, because it's so easy. How many of you have gotten in a pattern of like making the ego, the mind, the bad guy? I know I have. It's like it becomes the enemy, right? But Singer says, no, like it's just doing what you told it to do. You've given it a job to solve all your problems. So all the mind is trying to do is do what you said you gave it a job. It's doing its job. It's trying to solve all of your problems every moment. But the reality is, unless there's a tiger attacking you in the moment, there's very little problems in the moment aside what the mind is making up. So there's this propensity to demonize the ego. And Singer says, have compassion for it. Like it's trying to help you. You've given it an impossible task. That's the problem. It's doing a great job. So, wow, thank you, mind. Like you're just trying 24/7 to solve my problems. The illusion is the problems are never solved until we die. Coming from this scenario in this whole world that we've built. So we've got to first be aware of all of this happening. Is anybody having a hard time understanding this, or can all of you identify with this? Because the thing is, if you can't see it, you can't do anything about it. So the first step is to be aware and see, do you see what's happening? Like that situation with the bike. Yeah, I could see it well. The next step is, as you're seeing it, can you wake up? Can you let yourself off the hook? Can you be with the energies that are here in the chest, in the body? Can you relax around those energies? there's inner disturbance. Can you relax behind the disturbance? That's even a witness consciousness, because there's a disturbance inside, this energy, and then can you relax behind it? Which means you're bigger than it. You are not it. You are not identified with it. And there's a space where you're actually holding space for this disturbed energy. And you're not trying to relax the energy. You're relaxing the body and you're relaxing yourself behind it. Amazing, Liz. Yeah, and Jeff, we want to have something to blame, because then we don't have to be responsible. We get to be a victim if we get to blame somebody or something else, and then we don't have to change, and then we can just stay in complain and victim mode. And it can be easy to do that, just as like thinking about the ego and the mind, like, oh, well, this is just how it is to be human, and it's really hard, and well, then you can stay in your suffering. And Michael Singer is very much what I call spiritual tough love. So I'm going to read my favorite Singer quote. Hopefully I can find it quickly. Ah, yes. So this is from the Surrender Experiment. So really take this in. I could see that the practice of surrender was actually done in two very distinct steps. First, you let go of the personal reactions of like and dislike that form inside your mind and heart. And second, with the resultant sense of clarity, you simply look to see what is being asked of you by the situation unfolding in front of you. What would you be doing if you weren't influenced by the reactions of life, like or dislike? Following that deeper guidance will take your life in a very different direction from where your preferences would have led you. This is the clearest I can explain my surrender experiment, and it became the foundation of both my spiritual and worldly life. So 1, let go of personal reactions of like and dislike that form inside your mind and heart. Very simple, not easy. I had a personal, I don't like the way they park the motorbikes. That's a personal reaction of dislike. There's a preference. I have a preference. Yes, Misty, totally. And you start with easy things. Singer calls it low-hanging fruit, the fruit that's easy to pick off the tree. The thing with the motorbike in the parking lot is freaking the easiest thing. There's nothing there about why is my mind creating suffering with a preference. And we don't want to blame or shame ourselves about it or make the mind the bad guy about it, but just, okay, this is what's here. Great. He says, when stuff comes up, throw it a party. So this is a huge shift that he said happened in his life, in his journey, when instead of like for me in that example, like I'm judging myself the whole time. As I'm looking outside and seeing the bikes and seeing, and then asking for help for it to be moved. And then it was actually, my bike was easily movable. I just have this feeling of, like I have a preference. I don't like that I reacted that way. The layers of this go so deep. So what he says is you start changing your attitude about this stuff that comes up and you throw it a party. You start throwing this a party. Yay, look. Ooh, look, I noticed all this. I noticed this whole motorbike, stupid, whatever motorbike story. Wow, amazing. I get to relax and release into this. What a wonderful thing to practice with. I'm doing it right now. Bring it on. Do you see that attitude shift? Instead of like, oh God, I'm bad and wrong for doing this again. I didn't even see. Totally, Jeff. And that's what I was saying earlier. My mind was already, I had a preference. I don't like the parking scenario there. So then when I look outside, I'm expecting to see the worst case scenario, that my bike, I can't get it out by myself. When in reality, that I wasn't seeing reality. My perception was colored. I was blinded by all of this shit in the way. So can we then be like, this is amazing? Albert Einstein, I always quote this. He says, the most important question you can ask yourself is, do I live in a friendly universe? Do you see why that would be the most important question you could ask yourself? Because if I feel I live in a friendly universe, then that means everything's conspiring to help me and to bring me blessings and good fortune and love and luck and conspiring for my highest growth and to awaken to my fullest potential and possibility. So then if I come from that mind view, then everything I'm seeing is I live in a friendly universe. So, the motorbikes. Oh, mine's trapped in the middle. Yay, that means I get to ask somebody to help me. Ooh, somebody will get to be of service to me right now. Oh, I notice I had stories. That's great. Good for you, Natalie. Like, bless this parking lot and these motorbikes. Like, thank you for helping me. Everything is here to help us awaken. So is this helpful so far? What are your ahas? June, I know you said you were new to Singer. I think I see Ginger, hello. Misty. So we'll just pause for a moment if you did join in late. I'm Natalie, spiritual life coach. You can find out more about me here. I'm also streaming on YouTube right now. Subscribe there, Facebook, Instagram, give a donation, all that good stuff. Follow me here. And also, I will be offering another surrender circle, which will be diving in a more interactive way into these teachings in a live event. So you can go to my website and find out more about that if you'd like. Hi, Kat. So Albert Einstein says, the most important question you can ask yourself is, do I live in a friendly universe? Hi, Carmen. So that means everything's here to help me. So if we go back to this idea of surrender, in the quote I just read about from the Surrender Experiment from Michael Singer, he says the process of surrender is done in two very distinct steps. The first is to let go of the personal reactions of like and dislike. So this is what I was talking about earlier. We've got to let go of the world. We've got to let go of having an expectation that the world can ever give us what we want inside. Rupert Spira, how many know him? He's another amazing teacher that I love. I was listening to his podcast, or he was interviewed, and it said, he said something like, the interviewer asked him, what's the most, like, the biggest moment for you in your journey, or what's made the biggest difference for you in your spiritual path? And he said, when I stopped looking to the outside world to give me any sense of fulfillment. And that really is it. The outside world is always happening. There's always going to be thoughts. There's always going to be stories. There's always going to be things happening. The mind is going to have an opinion about. It's going to either want something, want to keep something from the present moment, or it's going to want to push something away from the present moment. Hi, Maureen. Great to see you. So yes, Rupert Spira said when he was asked, like, what's been the biggest shift for you in your spiritual journey that made the biggest difference? And he said when he stopped looking to the outside world for any sense of fulfillment. And I'm paraphrasing. But he stopped looking to the outside world to bring him any sense of happiness or fulfillment. And that's really it. So then Singer brings in, how do we let go of the outside world from bringing us any sense of fulfillment? By surrendering inside. And he says, you're the only one in here, so you're the only one doing this, which is good news because you can change and stop doing it. It's simple but not easy. So he talks about starting with what he calls the low-hanging fruit. You don't need to go back into your traumas and bring that stuff up. Sure, do that. That can be helpful if you're working with, a coach or a therapist. And, I do that work with people when it comes up in my life coaching. But work with the moment in front of you. Work with traffic and weather. Those are the two big ones he gives for you to start with. You don't start with mom and dad and childhood and betrayals and traumas. You start with, you're leaving the house and because I live on a busy road. It's like, leave the house, traffic. I feel something inside. Can I let go of a preference that the traffic needs to be a certain way? I didn't care about the traffic 5 seconds before I got to it. So that's another big point of his. Each moment is not personal. The traffic is not personal, but the minute I come upon it and it's in my awareness and in my world, then it all becomes personal all of a sudden, and I need everybody to get out of my way. I don't care what they're doing right now. I'm not there. How can I show up to each moment with that observation? There's always going to be a moment unfolding. Jeff, what do you need to stop? Hi, Caroline. Yes, it's not easy. It's simple, but not easy. But have you suffered enough? Has your way worked? You should, and Singer says this, you should have enough energy. Not enough energy. You should have enough history to see how has your way worked for you up until now. How has your way worked of having an opinion, of wanting the outside world to be a certain way so you can feel happy, wanting people, places, things, circumstances, situations to do what you want them to do? How well has that worked? And he says, like most everybody, we have enough evidence to know we've got to stop looking there. We've got to stop looking to the outside world to give us any peace, happiness. It hasn't worked well for me either. And even, I go back to, because I was in this job for almost 13 years. And for the last 5 years of it, my soul was screaming to get out. But I was too scared, and that's okay. But I always thought, it's my job. Like I've been an expat for 10 years. I've lived outside the US for 10 years. I love it. I love this lifestyle. When I'm a millionaire, sure, maybe I'll have a house in the US or something, but I'm perfectly happy. I love my life this way. And yet I had this job that was not working for me anymore. And yet I wouldn't leave until it was removed from me, basically. I mean, I chose to leave, but, I always thought, oh, if I had a different job, it's my job. That's why I'm not enjoying where I'm living, or why I'm not enjoying this or that about my digital nomad lifestyle and all that stuff. And, then I became a life coach, and I mean, it's a story likely many of you have heard, but sure, I remember for the first month, because I'd worked at that job almost 13 years. That's a long time. I mean, straight for, not 30 hours a week, but whatever. Same job. Then I'm a life coach, and I'm my own boss. I remember for the first month, I'm just like, I'm in ecstasy. I'm in bliss. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have to log into work. I don't have to go to work. I don't have to, there was that, being really still identified with that pattern of almost 13 years. And like, oh my God, I don't have to have a life and then go to work. Like, this is just my life. I went around the world saying this is just my life. This is just my life. I don't have to go and do something so I can enjoy my life. It's all just my life. And also, the old patterns of the mind then come in, and they latched on to this new scenario. So instead of the old stories about that job, then it was replaced with other stories, problem stories about this situation. So it's not about the outside circumstances. So yes, Caroline, I don't like the word should. You said, should we seek internal validation? We could. And yes, the answer is yes. We've got to cease looking to the outside world for anything. Period. If you want to be truly free, how free do you want to be? It's called unconditional living. It's called self-realization, self-actualization, awakening. Gary, William, Caroline, your way hasn't worked well. I'm in Bali right now, Caroline, so I've lived in different countries around the world. Been in Bali again most of this year. Ooh, beautiful, Jeff. I love your analogy about painting. So this is the deepest work. You can't go any deeper than this because there's nowhere else to go. So congratulations, and also welcome to, PhD level teachings and practices. So if you're here, then you're ready. And like I said, he says you just start with a low-hanging fruit. Is it raining when you don't want it to rain? Ooh, fun. I get to relax and release around rain right now. Then you come present, you remember, you let go of a preference. I don't want it to be raining. You feel the energy inside your body and your heart. You relax around that energy. You just play, you practice, you experiment. Traffic is the other one, traffic and weather. Once you start with these and you start relaxing and releasing around traffic and weather, and he says you don't ever need to look for something, it will come up. You don't, if you feel you're getting your feet wet with traffic and weather, surrendering there, releasing preferences, then you don't need to go call your ex. You can just, like, the universe, because we live in a friendly universe, will bring in the perfect thing that's ready next for you to relax and release around. That's what he calls his deepest teaching or practice technique, is relax and release. So that's, basically relaxing behind the inner disturbance. So as he said, step 1, let go of preference. And this is all like Buddhist teachings, attachment, releasing attachment to the present moment. You let go of your preference of what the present moment should be doing. And with that resultant sense of clarity, you then make a choice, not from a place of attachment. Let me read it again. You simply look to see what is being asked by the situation unfolding in front of you. What would you be doing if you weren't being influenced by reactions of like or dislike? If you're not wishing or wanting to manipulate a situation without that layer of clinging, attachment, resistance, suffering, what choice would you make about the moment if you're not being influenced by reactions of like or dislike? So if it's raining outside and as I said, I'm in Bali, I have my motorbike and it's raining and I don't have a preference to drive in the rain, but I wanted to go somewhere. I made a plan to go somewhere today. I wake up and it's raining and I don't want to drive in the rain. If I let go of the preference of like or dislike, with that resultant sense of clarity, then I can make a choice about keeping my plan. Thank you, Mark, for the donation. Gracias. So please, if you've enjoyed this talk and you care to, you can donate. Please follow me here. If you like this, if you want more of this, if you want to dive deeper, I also do coaching programs where these topics and teachings are like the container for the coaching, so that whatever you're bringing to the coaching, whatever you're wanting to create in your life or whatever you're wanting to work on, it's through this lens, and that's very powerful and deep work. So if you want to talk about the possibility of that, reach out and we can have a conversation. Yes, Wendy. The replays, and you can catch, I've been doing this for a while now, double streaming. So you can always catch the replays live. Thank you. I do want to draw a card. Just want to see what Spirit, if it has any closing messages. And I'd love to hear from you. Hi, Astrid. What's your biggest takeaway from this? What have you had an aha? Woo, Okay, these two popped out. Oof. Ooh. So this is a card of guilt. So maybe some of you are like, maybe it could be a collective idea, like from the collective consciousness of like, we need to suffer for some reason, you know, or we need to suffer to create results or to change. We need to guilt ourselves into change, or we need to beat ourselves up, or something around that for some of you. I think more important is this image. I think this image is speaking to how many of you can relate to the energies of this card just by looking at it. The mind, the thoughts, the suffering, the ego. When we look to the outside world to give us anything, we suffer in this way. Hi, Suze. And we can let go of this. So like I said, there might be a part of the mind that thinks it has to do this to change, but no, we don't shame ourselves or guilt ourselves into change. We have compassion and love and acceptance for ourselves, and that's what helps us change. So also these wonderful little flowers, what I see that as, that's the gift. There's like a silver lining. And if we live in a friendly universe, if everything is here to help me, then this is actually the portal to your awakening, which this was the other card that popped out, which is fucking amazing, which is why I love doing this work and love these cards. Completion. I mean, completion in tarot, this is the world card. This is the endings. Completion. You will feel whole and complete when you release the resistance to your experience, when you release all that this card symbolizes. This is the portal to everything you've ever wanted. To awakening, to enlightenment, if you want to use that word. Singer doesn't like using that word. Everything you're looking for here, it's already here. And you've already come so far. Like if you're here listening to this talk, if you're an insight timer at all, I always say, like, anybody who has downloaded this app, who uses it, you know, we can make assumptions to a degree about there's something there. Somebody's interested in meditating. Somebody's somewhere on a spiritual journey. So you're ready to hear this. You're already whole and complete. It's just about releasing all of the illusions, all of the stuff that's blocking you. And even the present moment, right? We were talking about we color our present moment with perceptions that come from this. So when we start releasing that and we are just in our present moment experience as the observer, as the witness, we will see that each and every moment holds everything and is everything that we've been looking for, everything that we've been seeking and searching outside of ourselves. Why we want all of the things we want, why we're wanting to change and manipulate and get something from the outside world. When we release that, we will come into the fulfillment that it's all already here. I mean, how many times have you heard spiritual teachers say, oh, enlightenment is like you're already that, you already are. Beautiful, Suze. So I have an idea if you're up for tweaking your affirmation, Suze, because the old Suze is also worthy of love and, you know, patience and compassion. So it's not that the old self or those old patterns and things are bad or wrong. It's just about loving, holding space, and blessing the old Suze and thanking her because she was doing her best. You know? And you are continually evolving, unfolding, expanding. And we need those old parts. I mean, they're part of the journey. You know, me as the drug addict and alcoholic, I had to go through every experience. You know, Tony Robbins today, the talk I was listening to, his mother was abusive. And he says, but if I wouldn't have had the mother I had, I wouldn't be who I am today. So I get to thank her. And so you can apply that to that and also to our old self. Because we've done our best with the level of mind we were at. So has everybody else. Hi, Leanne. So I want to, this is the Osho Zen Tarot, by the way. I want to see what this card has. There's an app for this, which is cool and I love using. You can pull up the cards. So I'm just going to read this. Here, the last piece of a jigsaw puzzle is being put into its place. The position of the third eye, the place of inner perception. Even in the ever-changing flow of life, there are moments in which we come to a point of completion. In these moments, we are able to perceive the whole picture, the composite of all the small pieces that have occupied our attention for so long. In the finishing, we can either be in despair because we don't want the situation to come to an end, or we can be grateful and accepting of the fact that life is full of endings and new beginnings. Whatever has been absorbing your time and energy is now coming to an end. In completing it, you will be clearing the space for something new to begin. Use this interval to celebrate both, the end of the old and the coming of the new. So look at this in light of this other card that was drawn in the context of this topic. You know, it's having the awareness of all of that, all of this, and welcoming this in. So we'll close now. If you've gotten value from this, please don't forget to follow me if you don't already. Give a donation here through the app. Join my group, Natalie's Healing Circle. If you want to be notified when I will schedule our next Surrender Circle, which is a Zoom event, sign up through my website. You can find out more about me in my profile here. Follow me on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Britt. Just love delighting in Michael Singer and his teachings. I just feel for this time of awakening, his teachings are the most simple, practical, yet profound. you know, like in that podcast I talked about, he's talking about practicing imagining yourself in the grocery store. Right. You're welcome, Misty. Hi, Gail. I don't know what you mean. Thank you, Suze, June. I think I see Rishi. His name's Michael Singer, New York Times bestselling author, The Untethered Soul, Surrender Experiment, Living Untethered. Thank you, Gary, Robert, Andrew, Maureen, Ginger, Wendy, Wendy Lotus, Carmen, Mark. Hi, Anne. Leanne. I know, I'm sure I've forgotten somebody. So if I forgot you and you're having there's a disturbance inside, then here's your first place you can relax and release. And no, it's not personal. Yes, this is the Osho Zen Tarot, which there's cards and there's an app. You have to pay for the app. When I bought it, it was $7.99 US. I will see you in 24 hours for Saturday Night Live. Please come back in 24 hours and we're going to have our fun, dynamic, weekly live event. We'll draw more cards and go deeper, and we'll do Reiki and Ancestral Clearing. So, hi Sharon. The name of the deck, Osho Zen Tarot. See you tomorrow.